One cannot teach if they're not willing to learn. And a learner has to have an opportunity to teach. My work is problematizing urban education and urban science education and describing it, but offering solutions. The first thing for me is there are a bevy of urban educators. These are the folks who tell us about all that's wrong with education. Only 33% of students will be successful in STEM and declare science majors. They tell us that the US ranks 27 out of 29th in developing nations. But they are a group of folks who tell us everything that's wrong, like we don't know things are wrong. My tool for solutions is entitled Reality Pedagogy. Reality Pedagogy is teaching based on the reality of a young person's experience. For me, Reality Pedagogy has what I call 5C's. The first C is called the cipher. The cipher, or the cogenerative dialogue, is conversations with young people about their experiences in the classroom. A teacher does not come into a classroom and say, hey kids, tell me what your reality is. A teacher does identify 4 students in the classroom that represent different demographics. A student who's like always getting 100, a kid who's always getting a 20, a kid who's always raising their hand to answer a question, and a kid who's always passive. And you say, you know what, I want to talk to you for 2 minutes after school about the class. You position them outside of the classroom like they would be positioned in the rap cipher. The idea here is that we're stealing from hip hop. And so if you say we're having a cipher to a kid who's from the Bronx, or is from Oakland, or is from Houston, once they hear the word cipher, they know what it is. They know that they should stand up and position themselves in a circle. They know that they stand equidistant from each other. They know that they're equal turns at talk. It's just a part of the mode of communication of hip hop. The conversations start with the social and slowly immerse into the scientific. The second is co-teaching, which really is essentially having students teach. One cannot teach if they're not willing to learn. And a learner has to have an opportunity to teach. So with co-teaching, we say, give young people all the tools that a teacher would use to teach a lesson. And have their homework assignment be creating a lesson plan. Have them come up to the front of the classroom and teach the lesson. And have the teacher sit where the student will have sat. And have the teacher take notes on how that young person teaches. The third C is cosmopolitanism, which essentially is making sure that every young person has an opportunity to feel like they are a part of the class and that they're responsible for each other. This cosmopolitan ethos is the same thing that every drug dealer uses to recruit young people. It's the same thing that gangs use to recruit young people. Is making people who feel like they are in a broken family structure or in a destructive environment, like feel like they are part of something powerful. And so for me, if you want to educate young people who've been marginalized from success, you have to make them feel like they are part of something. So how do you do that? Teach teachers that in hip hop culture, the handshake is significant. If I go up to somebody and I go to give them a pound and they don't give one back, it's such utter disrespect. If I give somebody a regular handshake versus one of these, it signifies how closely they are with me or with the culture. And so I've been teaching teachers to understand how you develop cosmopolitanism in classrooms, how you give kids handshakes, having roles for everybody in the classroom. You're the equipment distributor. We cannot distribute equipment in this class unless you are here. You are integral to how this works. You know, you're the person who gives out the copies. If you're not here, you know, copies won't get given out. I have to share the story. I remember 3 years ago, I'm in the back of a class, I'm working with a teacher, and a young lady comes into the classroom, and she's like, Dr. E, I'm so excited. You know, my dad's coming, and he's taking us to Disney World. And I was like, wow, it's great. You know, she's like, I haven't seen this guy in like 10 years, and he just showed back up, and he's gonna take us here. And I was so excited for her. She comes in on Tuesday, and she shares the exact same story. And so I know she's really excited, right? Wednesday, similar story. And I'm like, okay, I get it, he's coming, right? Friday, I'm in the class, I'm sitting there teaching the lesson, and she walks into the class, and my heart breaks. I'm like, this guy disappointed her. She's hurt. She's probably got so much going on, but she walks in the classroom, and she's absolutely normal. She's answering questions. She's participating. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's deflecting. It's really, really bad. You know, I'm like, do I give her a hug? Do I not? This goes on. The class leaves. She leaves for the day, and at the end of the day, she walks back into the classroom. And so I say, you know, Maribel, like, you know, what's going on? Are you okay with the fact that your dad didn't come? She said, oh, my dad, I had to cancel on that dude. I said, you had to cancel on that dude? What are you talking about? She was like, well, you know, I forgot today was Friday, and it's a lab day, and if I wasn't here, who was going to give out the microscopes? We've created a classroom where she feels like this is my real family. This is where I want to be. The fourth C is context, meaning, you know, you can't teach a class if you don't bring items, issues, artifacts from the students' life worlds into the classroom. And this will look differently everywhere. So if I'm going to teach about weathering, I want to use a rock that's from the neighborhood that the kids bypass every day. If I want to teach equilibrium in physics, I want to use the seesaw from the park across the street. And teachers oftentimes will teach using images from the textbook, or they'll like use some things from Google Images. I'm like, dude, there's science everywhere, all around us. That to be able to do a graffiti tag on a bridge that is hundreds of feet up, you have to think deeply about, one, how I get there, two, what the composition is of the spray paint, three, the inverse square law in physics. The idea is that we walk through urban neighborhoods with the science lens on. And if a teacher understands the science that exists in students' life worlds every day, they're a more effective teacher. And then the last C is content. And this pisses people off. Why is content last? Because the reality is, if you teach content first, and you don't have conversations with young people, they don't feel empowered to teach, they don't feel like they're part of the classroom, you will not be able to get the content across. It scares me how much science misconception is taught to young people, where a student asks a question, the teacher doesn't have the answer, and so the teacher makes something up just so they don't seem like they don't have a control or command of the classroom. So under the umbrella of content, we also teach teachers to know and to say and to be okay with when they don't know. And then put that idea, that question into the hands of the young person saying, let's discover together. Because after all, that's what science is, discovery. I'm Christopher Emdin. You need to subscribe to THNKR like yesterday.